The next story that we're going to look at is the flood story in chapters 6 through 9 of Genesis. This is a kind of uncreation story because Cain was not the only one who resorted to violence. Many humans became violent. The world became so wicked that God regretted that he had made human beings. We see in Genesis 6, verse 6, the Lord regretted he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. And this is because of the wickedness of the human race, that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. This is not what God wanted for the world. And God brings judgment through the flood by a kind of cosmic reset button. Remember in Genesis 1, verse 2, water covered everything. And then God gradually brought order, and gradually dry ground emerged, and plants grew, and animals could live on the dry land. And here, God brings waters again to cover the land as a way of bringing us back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, the time before creation. He brings disorder to what had been ordered as a consequence of human rebellion. But at the same time, he expresses his grace by preserving the righteous. Noah and his family come aboard the ark along with 2 of every animal and 7 of the clean animals. And they live on the ark for a long time while the flood waters rise, and then after they subside. And then they emerge, and in chapter 9, we have the emergence of humanity into a garden again. Noah plants a garden, plants a vineyard, and God speaks with him. They're in communion with each other. And we have this hope that it's a starting over. God makes a covenant with Noah that he will never flood the earth again. No more reset button. And he extends his grace to Noah and his family. If you read the whole chapter 9, you see that things pretty quickly spiral downward again, because saving Noah's family did not eliminate evil from the earth. And right away, there's conflict between Noah and his sons. One of his sons dishonors him deeply, and there's a rift between them. So we had a rift between husband and wife in Genesis chapter 3, a rift between siblings in Genesis chapter 4, and now a rift between parent and child in chapter 9. Every dimension of human relationships has been affected by rebellion and violence. In chapters 10 and 11, we see the last scene of this early part of Genesis chapters 1 through 11. And in the last scene is the building of the Tower of Babel. Usually when this story is told, it's told with the assumption that what the people are building is a tower so that they can approach God or get close to God. More likely, what they're building is a ziggurat. And ziggurats are not for humans to climb up. They're for the gods to climb down. They were built next to temples and gardens, and they were a kind of giant staircase. It's not a building you can go inside. It's a giant mass of bricks that is mostly solid, that's just supporting a staircase on the outside so that the gods will come and dwell among the people. In chapter 11, the whole world had one language and a common speech. And as people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. And they said to each other, "Come, let's brick bricks and bake them." There's this very simplified language that they use, and they want to build something. And they say, "Come, let's build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." God had told the first humans to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. He wanted humans to spread out. These humans are defying that order by trying to build an empire and make a name for themselves rather than a name for their maker. So Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower the people were building, and he decides to scramble their languages so that he can put his plan back on track. So the big ideas of this story are the human desire for divine legitimation. These builders want the gods to come live in their community because that will be a way of giving them bragging rights and helping them feel better about the empire that they're building. It's very possible that there's an actual attempt to squelch diversity and force uniformity, and that's why there's one language and why they're speaking in almost a Dr. Seuss-ish kind of language. In chapter 11, verse 3, come, let us brick bricks and bake them. It's possible that the languages we see evidence of in chapter 10 have been stamped out by some violent oppressor, some prototype of Pharaoh who's forcing people to work. It's one possibility. God's response, his action, is to restore his plan to fill the earth with a diversity of people. So he scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. Now, I don't know why our English Bibles say that the name of this city was Babel, because it's the same word used everywhere else for the city of Babylon. This is the building of the empire that will ultimately take the people of Israel into exile. It's a city opposed to the rule of Yahweh, and one that sets itself up in opposition to Yahweh. Michael Morales explains in his book, Exodus Old and New, that the people unite to build, brick by brick, a name for themselves, a ziggurat city to display human achievement. Somewhat mockingly, the story ends without us ever discovering the names of these builders. This story provides an excellent backdrop for the next one, where God calls a man out of Ur and decides to make his name great. And that man is Abram.